All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. For some reason, this show, Kitchen Nightmares, really, 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 um, relates to me from a um, annoyance and the fight and the struggle of dealing with other people as far as trying to help somebody. Okay, because watching watching the conversations, okay, between Gordon and somebody else, okay, it's just like this particular episode, everything that has been changed or suggested by Gordon, everybody is ecstatic except the one person who has already claimed that Gordon is not a good cook. Okay, and he's a much better. His restaurants runs a lot better than his restaurants. Okay, which it's impossible to have that opinion because you've never been to any of his restaurants. Okay, you've only been in yours, right? And watching Gordon trying to communicate with this guy, it's because Gordon is talking, he's against whatever is being said. He has a personal vendetta against Gordon. Period. Okay, and it's the most childish thing I could ever watch a human being do, and I have experienced this so many times. Okay, so many times. So I'm gonna tell you a story. All right, now some of you know me from the very beginning, so you already kind of know this story of what I was doing, but you don't know this particular story that I'm going to tell. Now, okay, I am in my CCNA days, okay? I have passed my CCNA at this point, okay? And I'm actually going to ITT, okay? All right, I'm going there for the purpose of they were quickly able to get me finance, which there's a reason why. And I don't even have to pay those student loans back because of the class action suit that was against them. And this has happened to me twice: Computer Learning Center and ITT. Both both school now. Computer Learning Center was back in 1994. Okay, that's how I learned Visual Basics, and so it's not like I wasn't learning. Okay, it's just the fact that they were stealing my money, and I caught them. Okay, and when I questioned them about it, uh, the bullshit that came in their mouth, I'm like, no, 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 you're not doing this to me. We're done, and I quit school. Okay, and my mom was so upset because, um, she thought I was ruining my future. And 2 years later, there was a huge lawsuit with Computer Learning Center for the concept of them overcharging the students, okay, with the student loans. So, nonetheless, ITT, same thing, right? ITT was overcharging. They were bullshitting. They were passing people that shouldn't have been passing. They were lying, okay, and making promises that they were not even trying to actually do. Now, none of that affected me, okay, because nothing stops me from getting what I want, and I want you to be the same way. Okay, guys. I'm telling you, from the time I started my CCNA, which is back in 1994. I'm sorry, 2009. Sorry, wrong date. 2009. Okay, is when I started my CCNA. Okay, I had passed the exam in 2.5 months. So when I went to the CCNP, okay, boy, it was a very slap in the face that, um, first of all, you need to reevaluate. This is me talking to myself. Reevaluate if really what type of CCNA you are, because you can't even get, even when they're talking about CCNA topics, you are not at the level of a real CCNA that where you should be. And I had to go back, okay, and get my CCNA level to the CCNA level before I continue on with my CCNP. So that 2.5 months was I did not deserve to pass that exam. That's what I'm telling you. I should have not been a CCNA. I don't know how I ended up doing it. I passed. I got enough where I was passing the exam. Okay, I failed the first one. I failed the second one, and so I had to take them both twice because I went through the two exam track, thinking I was going to learn more, and it's just it gave me a false not false hope, but a false sense of accomplishment, because I was nowhere near a CCNA level from my perspective. Going back and going over those topics and going really deep into those topics and constantly labbing before I would even start the CCNP is what got me to a real CCNA level. Okay? All right? The average person is not going to do this. But you don't have to do this either. I'm not telling you this is what you should do. The thing is, your integrity and your opinion of yourself matters. Okay? If you want to be at this level, take your ass to that level. Okay? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't bullshit it. Don't do no shortcuts. Get your ass to the level that you were doing. And you have to understand, I was trying to master this field. Okay, and I can't master it if I can't even be a CCNA, okay, that I want to be, all right, and I can't even call myself a CCNA until this situation is resolved. And that's what I did. That's why for the longest time I called myself the network novice, even as a CCNP. Okay, now with the CCNA, I knew when I was a CCNP, okay. When I passed it, I knew I was not a true CCNP, okay, because of the experience with the CCNA. So, okay, that allowed me to go continue on with my CCNP topics, even though not finished, okay, to transition into that CCIE level. All right, these were the choices that I made. Okay, that's why it took me 6 years. Okay. It wasn't 2 years of studying and then I went and tried the exam. I'm like, no, this is not the level I want to be at yet. Okay? And at some point you start realizing that you're a CCIE before you even pass the exam. Okay? At that level, because, it takes that level for you to pass the exam. Okay? Alright? And I passed in my third attempt, and it still, same thing, okay? Am I the CCIE that I want to be? Okay? Alright, I passed the exam, and guys, I struggled for that for a couple of years until I finally realized, okay, now I am, now I deserve this title. Okay? And on my desk, in plastic, is where that plaque, my CCIE plaque, stayed for 2 years before I hung it on my wall. Because that is the level that I wanted to be at. Okay? Alright? So I watched this show, and you know what's funny? I've seen the show before, but for some reason recently, it's really hitting me because some of the things, watching Gordon get pissed. He gets pissed over bullshit, man. The shit that they say. The responses, and I've gone through this my entire life, okay? From the time that I can't even imagine, guys, okay? All right? My brother chased women. I chased knowledge. Hey, that's his choice, okay? All right? Even when I was 15 years old, okay, I was fixing things and hooking things and wiring up things. He didn't have a clue what I was doing, okay? Because his only focus was women. All right. Still today, okay, which I haven't talked to my brother in years, decades. He is not who I am. He never will be, okay, because that is his focus in life, okay. All that time he had, I chased knowledge, okay. All right. Now when I say chase knowledge, Okay, it's not something that when I was 10 years old, because at 10 years old, I was thinking about how gravity works. And I was way the fuck off, too, by the way. But the thing is, you know, when I when I hit 15 years old, okay, my mom couldn't understand why. All right, she kept buying hair dryers that wouldn't last long because I kept taking them apart to see how they worked. Okay, that was my passion. Okay, all right, building a bomb just out of match heads. Because we read about it. All right, and my friends and I decided to test it and try it out. Okay, all right. I was very into fire too, and magnifying glasses and the sun, and and how things worked. Always in the yard playing, but playing with science and didn't even realize it because that is who I am. I'm a curious person. I love knowing how things works. When something's broken, I got to figure out how it works. I learned electronics on my own. Resistors, how to measure them on my own. Don't get me wrong. I am not a real electronic person. Okay? All right? No way are you going to give me a circuit board and I'm going to, know how to diagnose it properly and do all that stuff. These are things that I did for fun. Okay? Taking away my VCR to figure out why the tapes keep getting stuck. Okay, taking apart our camcorder, measuring resistance, and looking at the circuit board with magnifying glasses, following the circuits on the board. Okay, resoldering resistors and capacitors on there to fix problems. This was fun to me. This is who I was. So chasing knowledge is what I do because it's fun. Okay, that's why I'm really good at research. I can spend research. I can spend a whole weekend, all day, every day, researching a topic until I find the answer. Okay, I spent a year testing water. Okay, all right, to find out what the best water that I could utilize that my body would actually utilize because I had a problem with my body utilizing water. Okay, all right, this is who I am. Okay, that's why I say I'm a scientist at heart. At heart. Okay? Alright? You and I can sit down, we can talk about space for hours. Okay? Because it's who I am. Okay? So it's not like I woke up and says, you know what, I want to be better than my brother, alright? And chase knowledge. It's just because it's just part of my DNA. Alright? Okay? And I embrace it because this is what I love to do. Alright? When my friends were, which I was never into, even today I'm not into drinking. Okay, so when they were going to parties and drinking, guys, I was doing fun things in the yard, like taking a cast iron grill, all right, pouring gasoline in it, lighting on fire, and throwing hairspray bottles in it, waiting for it to explode. Run up the hill, make sure I was high up the hill. Run up the hill. A couple minutes later, boom! Huge explosion. The whole cast iron thing would kind of lift off the ground, and then all of a sudden, this deep white vapor would just pour out of the actual cast iron thing. And I would run down there, take a match, light it, and throw it at the vapors, and whoosh, it would light back up and throw another can in there. I mean, guys, and you know what's funny? I've never been injured ever. The only thing that I've ever hurt myself with is a sprained ankle playing basketball, and I never did it again. I don't like pain. So I've never had a broken bone. I never had a broken anything. I like my feet on the ground. Okay? There were times that I wanted to do certain things until I started understanding the science of potential energy and kinetic energy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm good on the ground. All right? I don't even like flying. Okay? I don't. So, the thing is, when you go out of your way to educate someone, all right, and there was a longtime friend that I had, and this is one of the reasons why we're not friends anymore, for other reasons too. I mean, I haven't talked to him in 8 years. It's coming up on a decade in a couple of years, all right, because every time I would say something to him, okay, Now you gotta understand, I'm the type of guy that if I am taking my time to explain something to you, that means I have a lot of respect for you because I'm very picky on who I spend my time with on trying to educate someone on, because most people don't want to listen. And this is what I'm looking at with Gordon. Okay, this guy is so ridiculous. Okay, and you know what's funny? It is so common. Okay, it is so common to have someone like this guy is dealing with. Okay, all right. Um, it just hits every sense of irritation that I've had in my entire life. Okay, every one. All right. So what these people will do is they will take their personality that they're displaying back at you, okay, and make you that person by telling everybody else how you are. You're Mr. Know-it-all, okay? You are arrogant. You don't want to listen. It's your way or the highway, okay? Blah, 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 blah. And that is not what an intellectual person is. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, you got your, Mensa guys who just wants to be the smartest person in the room. Okay, that justifies their identity and who they are. I don't have those issues. I know who I am. I know what I can do, and I accept my positives and my faults. Okay, the faults that I had tried to fix that I can't fix, I just accept them as that. But I'm self-aware of them. All right. So, this show it just reminds me, and guys, I'm talking about such a young age. Okay. All right, and when a person says we have to agree to disagree, okay, you can't agree to disagree on facts. Sorry, can't do it. All right, and I am trying to explain to you something. Perfect example. This just happened just a few weeks ago. Okay. All right, people I didn't know, we were sitting there, we were chilling, right? I was, kind of feeling each other out, and we spent the day together, drinking, having fun, being social, right? Okay, which is not something I do on a regular basis. So, but it's also hard for me to find someone to have an intellectual conversation with. Okay, so this individual, okay, was trying to remove lighter fluid from a torch or a lighter so he could fill it up into another lighter, because the lighter that had the full stuff in it, or fluid in it, didn't work. Okay, all right, and he was trying to do this, and I told him you can't do that, because what's going to happen is the boiling point of that stuff is a lot lower than room temperature. It's going to evaporate before you even have a chance to even move it. He was like, well, I can't move it from one container to the other. And I said, yes, you can. And he's just like, no, you can't. Right? And already looking at me like I'm a Mr. Know-it-all. All right? And I said, give me 2 minutes to explain to you, okay, temperature and pressure relations. Okay? And after the explanation, I had asked him, so how do we move that fluid from one container to another? Okay? He was like, by lowering or raising the pressure of the bottle. Okay, either lowering the pressure of the container that has the liquid, or raising the pressure. Oh my God, how did he say it? Whatever it is, it was the correct answer. I was trying to use his words specifically, but okay, I gave him the concept. I even asked him related to the question, saying, look, if it's 90 degrees outside and it's 70 degrees inside your house, if I open up the door, what are we doing? Are we letting the cold out, or the heat come, or is the heat coming in? And he gave me the right answer because he took the time to listen. But I also had to tell him, okay, had to beg him to give me 2 minutes of explanation time. Okay? And he did it. Alright? Most of the time, people won't do that. Okay? They'll just dismiss you as you not know what the hell you're talking about. Okay? All right. Now, at one point of that night, his girlfriend was like, he was like, are you a teacher? Okay. And it's like, yes, I do teach. Doesn't mean I'm a teacher, but I'm not going to the explanation. So I just said, yeah, I do teach a lot. So the thing is, okay, however you perceive me on this channel, okay, you don't know me because you and I don't spend time socially, and you don't really get to see my real personality. Okay? All right? What you see is my real personality from the perspective that this is me. This is how I talk. This is how I communicate. This is how I react. The words that I say, even though if I'm cussing, all that's real. It is me. And you could get an understanding of who I am. If you came to my free classes, that is where you get to see the real me, because I'm actually interacting with you. Interacting with nothing, with a microphone and a screen, okay, it can be kind of mundane, I guess you could say. And, I'm just kind of like staring at the screen and just having my thoughts pour out, okay? It's like a diary, right? The thing is, guys, throughout your life and throughout your career, you're going to be told things that you can't do. Now, with that particular story, I'm going to tell you what I was doing when I passed my CCNA. After my studying, okay, I wanted to still just do YouTube. I wanted a live audience. Okay, so hang on for one. Whew. All right, give me a second so I can breathe. I wanted a live audience. I wanted to see how I would do standing up in a classroom. Okay, so I created and started my own Cisco club and used the conference rooms at ITT, the school I was going to, and started the club there. So people that were interested in networking joined the class. Guys, I had like 20 plus people in that class. We met once a week, okay, on a Saturday, and people showed up. Okay, it was 8:00 in the morning, right? I mean, it got, by knowing me by now, I mean, you kind of knew I was going to do that, right? So, okay, so I started doing some lessons, started doing some teaching, okay, and I had written a question on the board, okay, and everyone got it wrong, and I said, no, watch the sentence, okay, and I went through it word by word, all right, and immediately they criticized me for being sneaky and how wrong it was. I'm like, guys, you're not understanding what I'm teaching you here. These are how the questions are going to be worded on your exam. I'm not doing anything. I'm showing you what you need to observe when you're reading these questions on this exam. Raise your hands for everybody who wants to be a CCNA. Everyone raise a hand. Okay. I'm not cheating you. I'm not tricking you. Okay? I'm giving you the skill set of reading the questions that no other CCNA course will ever give you. Okay? So embrace this. Okay? And they hated it. They hated it. Not my problem. Okay? All right? Because they did not want to believe that I was not tricking them. Okay? They had it sit in their head. All right? That's, hey, I can't change that perspective. All right? When you are talking to somebody, okay, when people feel, okay, and you know what's funny? It's not even justified. Okay? But you ask them a question, you give them the answer, they don't like the answer, so they immediately think you are the problem. Okay? When in reality, you are wording the things as it will be worded on the exam. Okay? That's their problem. Okay? It's not something that I need to deal with or have to deal with, because in reality, it's my responsibility that I gave myself to give you the truth. And that's the thing. Watching Gordon give them the truth, all these responses, like this guy here, I mean, he's just a cold stone liar, yo. I mean, the bottom line is, you know, everything that this man has done, Gordon has done, everyone has loved it except him. He has a personal vendetta against Gordon. Period. You can tell. All right. One of the funniest things that Homer Simpson had said, okay, is when Bart was having his dog constantly chase him, and when Homer opened up the door, the dog was all lovable, wagging his tail, licking Homer, but when he would face Bart, he would growl out of like, I'm gonna fuck you up, right? Okay, and then the scene cuts over to them having breakfast, and Homer says, "You know what, Bart? Sometimes dogs or people just hate you for no reason." and it was just like so out of character for Homer to actually say something that makes sense, right? But the way he worded it and how he said it, it makes me laugh every time I see it, because he's right. Now, to end this story, okay, I was standing up in class, right? And this is something that, again, this is something that I had never seen in a CCNA course, okay? And when I learned it, it was like astronomical, and I have blown many people's minds showing them this, okay? And that would be that right there. That every PC has a routing table. Now, I'm in the class and I'm saying this, that every PC has a routing table. All right, and this guy, okay, who's been in my class for a couple weeks, says no, they don't. I'm like, yeah, they do. Not only do they actually have a routing table, they actually have an ARP table as well. Your host can't do this without building a layer 3 and layer 2, nor can they, and once that's done, the packet's ready. But it can't be forwarded without a routing table. Okay? Alright? It needs some way to move traffic via a layer 3 method. Okay? Now, okay, so I had everyone said, matter of fact, I'll show you. Type in CMD, okay, route print, and I said, look at the very first line with 0000, look at your gateway. Okay? The PC needs to know where to send this. Alright? Now, right there, this guy quit my class. Because, first of all, he knew 100% that PCs do not have ARP tables or routing tables. He was proven wrong in front of the whole class, and now he's quitting. And you know why? Because it had nothing to do with me. It was him. This guy had passed his has not taken the CCNA class yet, but he had spent $5,000 or even like, I think it was like $8,000 for a CCNA class that was only like a couple weeks, maybe a few weeks long. Never did any labbing. They didn't even give the people the time to lab. They just went over the material. Okay, all right. So this guy figured that he spent all his money, that the people that he spent the money with was knowledgeable, but he learned nothing. That's why he was taking my class or coming to the club, the Cisco club, all right, to prep for the actual exam. Don't you think the person teaching you should be prepping you for the exam? Shouldn't they have labs? Okay? If it takes me 70 some hours, okay, of teaching, can you, and that's just videos, can you imagine how long a real CCNA class would take? Because you can't learn this without doing the labs. So I got to show you how to do it, and then I have to give you lab time while I'm there. Okay? All right? And of course, the other labs is what you're doing at home. That's your time. But in my time, okay, I have to show you the lab, and then now it's time for you to do the lab. Okay? And trust me, we're going to do the lab until you get it. All right? So imagine 70 hours of lecture. How many more hours of labbing for a real CCNA course from someone like me? You get what I'm saying? Then the course will be months. Okay? So in reality, this is the perception. Okay? This guy spent $8,000 for a professional, and who the fuck is Kyle Martin? Okay? Alright? Who is Kyle Martin telling you something, okay, that you didn't learn in your $8,000 course? So automatically done. And I begged him not to quit. And I'm not the kind of guy that will beg for someone not to quit my course, okay, or a club. But I felt bad him spending that kind of money and not learning. And I told him that I would actually spend extra time with him, okay, to make sure he got his money's worth. All right? That's a bold statement, man. Okay? All right? Okay? And no, he just saw me as this person that was not knowledgeable. All right? Sorry. Okay? Sorry you spent $8,000 and got nothing out of it, but that's his problem, not mine. Okay? All right? That's how he saw me. All right? And he was the only person that actually left until it started getting harder and harder because people lose interest over time. All right? And it's, CCNA and CCNP is not for everyone. It just isn't. And it's definitely, even the people who really want it bad, they just kind of want it. Right? Okay? I had another guy in my class, okay, who excelled really well, but this guy took the CCNA course test once, failed it by 1 point and never came back. And I'm not having that. And I gave him the encouragement to go back and take it again. I don't know if he did it, okay? I just don't know if they did it. Okay, so that is a story that I want you to realize, that the person that's always giving you advice is usually the person that doesn't have any experience with that topic. They just got to tell you, because saying the word "I don't know" is a mental disease for most humans. That's why people will say, "Hey, do you know where Dorsey Road is?" Yeah, 5 miles down that way, and fucking Dorsey Road is like, on the next block. Okay, they don't know what Dorsey Road is, but they just can't say the words "I don't know." Okay, they can't do it. It's like a mental disease for human beings. I've never understood it, because the most famous phrase of my life that I've said 1,000,000 times, and I still got another 1,000,000 to say it, is either "I don't know" or "I have no idea." Because I don't talk about things that I don't know about or have experience with. Okay? Sorry, I don't. The ones that have been following me since 1994, okay, you saw how bad I was just with EIGRP. But that was the truth. You saw it. You got to see the growth from 0 to whatever. Okay? You got to see that growth. Because I didn't lie. Alright? I didn't create a persona. Alright? This is who it is. It was to show you that how horrible I was and how I grew. You got to see it from the worst to success. And because of that, there was no sugarcoating. That's why my labs are the way they are. We start from scratch. Okay? Because every time we have a problem, every time I can't remember a command, you're going to realize that it's okay. It's okay to have to look something up that you believe that you should know because you're a CCNA or a CCNP. We forget. Okay? As a CCNE training, guys, I was unstoppable. Okay? Alright? No way in hell I'm at that level now. Okay, because I'm not studying for an exam. All right, I'm not doing it every day. So there's lots of times, and don't get me wrong, there could be commands I know how, like DMVPN, one of my famous technologies. Okay, all right. If you gave me a project on it, I was still, even though I have taught this thing so many times and can remember every command that's there, I still will go back to Cisco documentation. Okay, there's no shame in that. All right. You going back to the Cisco documentation is you doing your due diligence and making sure the job is done right. All right? There's no shame in that. Okay? So, I just want to throw that right out there because you guys have to do two things in your life. Make sure you're talking to the right audience. There's no point, okay, of discussing your car problems with a plumber. Don't hire a plumber to fix your car. Okay? Things are just not going to work out the way they should be. Alright? Also, make sure that your advice is coming from someone that you want to be in the position that they are. Okay? My advice, okay, even at CCNP levels, always came from CCNP certified people or higher. Okay? Not from the people, because you're going to get a lot of these people who are 100% against you because you're certified. And will not, and I've been having this argument for 15 years, guys, the real learning is at home, not at the job. Okay? The real learning is in the lab. And if you can't understand that, okay, most likely you're going to be that person that tells you how Cisco certifications are only to make money, and it's not needed, and, you don't learn anything from it because they've never done it. They've never gone through it. How would they know what you're going to learn if they've never gone through the process to the end? Okay? Never giving up, all right? And always going back for every failure. They didn't do this. You did this. That's why you have the knowledge. You know what a Cisco certification is worth, okay? Why do you think I'm going for a second CCIE? I know what I'm going to get out of it. And guys, CCIE security is not going to be easy, okay? All right? It's not. I mean, the blueprint is brutal, okay? But I know what I'm going to get out of it, okay? So, with that rant being said, be strong, be determined, be Cisco. I'll see you guys on the next one. And, hey, go enjoy you guys' weekend.